Oh, Hilton stay, your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. Enjoy comfortable rooms and friendly service when you stay with Hilton instead. Save up to 25% this season when you book with Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Alex. You're listening to the Afternoon Snack Podcast. Well, we had a topic for today, but we opened with some chat about our therapeutic journeys, and we never got off that topic. The other topic was about goals, so we're going to save that one for next week. But today, we're going to talk about how our relationship therapy has been going. And it has not always been easy, but it sure has been enlightening and productive.
I realized that I'm actually married to Winnie the Pooh recently. That's you as my podcast host.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, there's been a lot of like, why is this sticky in like the kitchen? Mm-hmm. And it's because, and you get on me for going on like food kicks, but you've been on a honey kick. But I can't figure out, it literally is like you're dipping your hands in the honey and just sort of like everywhere with it. What is that?
Honey has a mind of its own.
Does it?
It does.
But
you can't contain it.
You don't even have you don't use the spreadable honey. You use the like squeeze the bear.
I know. The spreadable honey is a whole other story. I squeeze the bear and I try to keep it contained, but somehow it gets on the bear and then it gets on my hands. And then I eat my rice cake with my hands and that's got honey on it. So sometimes the honey drips.
Yep, like it does.
Yeah. And so then sometimes she gets a bite of my rice cake. So then there's just like a lot of...
Now the golden retriever has honey on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of honey in action.
Yeah.
And so then it gets on the bottom of the cabinet where the honey goes. But then other items touch that cabinet. And so it'll be under like the peanut butter jar. And then the peanut butter jar goes on the counter. And then honey is on the counter. And then you rest your arm on the counter, and then all of a sudden you have honey on your arm. And so honey is hard to clean.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It isn't even always honey. It's like, what is this like? It like collects dust and like grime.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what was in my hair today.
Yeah, probably. Because your hair's not long enough to like have things in it.
It was like kind of yellowy, and it was very hard. Like to get it out, I had to really pull at it.
That makes sense. That would make sense. Honey is like the new rice. You remember how you used to have just like rice all over you all the time? Which I still don't understand. I'm like, how are you eating rice that it's just ending up on your clothes?
Rice also has a mind of its own.
That's because Alex, and I guess let me do this in a way that people can visualize it. I've never seen someone eat food like you. I think this is actually your whole problem. If it's not honey or rice, it'll be something else. It'll be like peanut butter. You go to like take a bite of whatever it is and you actually lean back. You know, like most people's natural inclination, if they think something might make a mess, is they like kind of lean towards their plate just in case. You do the opposite of that.
It's because I think I'm like kind of scared of it. I'm like, oh God, it's going to fall on me. So I'm like moving away.
But you're increasing the likelihood that it does.
I know.
Anyways, this is also why you can't have white shirts.
No, never a white shirt.
Even light color, even that sweatshirt you have on, like
I know the sweater is. Do you ever relegate a sweater? Relegate's the word, right?
Yeah.
To okay, this is gonna be my like wear at home. It's basically a rag now.
Retired from public appearances.
Yeah, but then you find yourself wearing it in public. Mm-hmm. Like you're going for dinner, and you're like, I'll just wear what I'm wearing.
I already have it on.
And then it's in public that you see all the things wrong with it. Mm-hmm. You don't see those things at home. Mm-mm. I don't notice that the cuffs are like really ratty and there's
Yeah.
holes and there's stains on it until I'm in public with a friend and I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't be wearing this.
Yeah. And it's always the times you go out where you're like, I mean, it's just a quick dinner out. We're not going to see anybody. That's always when you see people. And, you know, you're talking with them, but they're looking at you. They're giving you the like, are you okay look?
Yeah.
Their eyes are.
How's it been? Looks like it. Has it been busy?
Are you tired? I ran into a friend the other day and it's been like a really long couple of weeks for me. And I must have just had kind of like at the end of the day is the evening. And she was like, oh, are you hurt? Like, I think I was like, had a limp or something going. And I was like, oh, I mean, I'm always like perpetually a little bit hurt, but I think my tiredness and my fatigue may just be coming out as a hobble. That's it. How's it been?
It's been okay. A little challenging. We're in a therapy journey. So if anyone listened to our podcast, like, 8-10 weeks ago?
Yeah.
About some troubles that we were having and how it was impacting us. We have decided we're in therapy like once a week.
Once a week.
And it's not easy. You have this, I wouldn't say that I was conscious of this expectation, but it is becoming clear that I had an expectation. And that expectation is to go to therapy and for the therapist to say, Alex, you're right. You've been right all along. And now Meredith knows that, so everything will be okay.
Do you think that I wasn't aware that that was your expectation? I know that was your expectation.
That is not happening.
No.
Not even close. If anything, it's the other way around. And I have wanted to fire the therapist.
Mm-hmm. We're starting to, I don't know if this woman has a wall of fame, but you have to be on it by now. And
she's the first couple, if any, I hope that I'm not the only one out there, but you realize that you're so, and it's not about right or wrong according to her, but you've been so wrong, or your behavior has been kind of the problematic behavior, that when someone tells you that, your reality then becomes distorted.
I don't think that, I think it's the opposite. I think you realize that your reality has been distorted.
Okay, but then there's a period of time where you think to yourself, I think to myself, what is even happening? What do I even know? Who am I? Is this behavior reasonable? Am I seeing what I'm seeing? Are these facts?
Yeah.
So that's been challenging.
Yeah. It has.
And as I get more comfortable with the therapist, there's less holding back.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, there were some you didn't even know her that well, and you sort of let her have it.
Fair.
Yeah.
But she also didn't know me. So I'm like, you have no right to tell me what I need to be doing.
Welcome to the crash course, Laura. Yeah, so like top 3 most hilarious things that have come out of your mouth in therapy. In therapy with a therapist. How do we narrow this down? I think, okay, in the number 3 spot, this was an early point. This was before she knew you. This is like what we're talking about.
Before. She didn't know me.
Yeah.
We're maybe 2 sessions in.
Yeah. I don't think, she still doesn't know you, and like you don't know you, but who does know themselves? What's what we're doing.
Right.
The conversation, what were we even talking about in this one? Do you remember?
Yes,
like how we got to this
started the therapy session mid-argument.
Oh.
We were in an argument and then we had to sit down together for therapy.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I think that was a good thing, in a sense. She was able to witness the struggle and the pattern and how we interact when we're in an argument.
Yep.
But unfortunately for me, and as Laura says, I'm unlucky in that the way that my behavior comes out or my tendencies, they're not as socially acceptable. Like, I get angry, I get louder. I'm somebody who wants to solve the problem quickly, so I'll like be the instigator, not instigator, but I'll do the chasing. Whereas you're more pulled back and avoidant. So obviously that combination isn't great.
Yeah.
But in society, the person who's like pulled back and quiet, that's more socially acceptable.
Yeah, I don't think I'm avoidant. Like, I don't go all the way to avoidance, but I definitely tend towards withdrawal.
Right. Withdrawal. Okay. So I was heated.
Yeah, and I think the conversation either began or got to the point where you're kind of talking about my workload versus your workload, and how I had made these decisions to change my workflow, do a little less of certain types of work to create more space for new types of work and things that I like doing. But like, given the summer that we had, like, I never really, despite having that space, like I hadn't really stepped into that structure. And so maybe the conversation was kind of like around that a little bit. Some frustrations there because you were still, doing what you're doing and having conversations with people and managing your workload.
I was also training for the triathlon.
Yeah, the half Ironman training, full, getting towards peak training.
Right.
So anyways, we had been talking about how I'd kind of like taken a, like, air quotes, break, step back. And she said something along the lines of, well, do you think that you need to take some time off, or you would benefit from taking a break?
No, she said, I think you need to take a break.
Oh, yeah.
And not a break from this moment, a break from your life load.
Yeah.
And here's the history. You don't even know how many times somebody has told me that.
Well, what is the history?
I don't know. People have told me that for my entire life.
What people? That's not a trick. I was just wondering.
Well, I don't know. Coaches, parents.
What's the context though? Like, what does that look like?
You.
I know, but what is happening when people say that to you normally? And I'm not trying to trick
I'm
you.
usually visibly stressed, outwardly stressed, short-tempered, not a lot of capacity.
Yep.
Not doing well.
And when someone says that to you, normally what do you do?
I cut them out of my life.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I tell them to F off.
Okay.
A notch down from that. So anyways, Laura thinks she knows me and says, I think you need to take a break.
Yeah.
So my response was...
And this is in the number 3 slot. Not all the way yelling, but definitely like above a speaking level. You said something along the lines of, I am handling things just fine. And then I think at that point I said, are you? And the conversation went from there. But it was the delivery that made it so ridiculous, because we were kind of talking about, I think, both of us, but your sort of maybe things that were setting you off were a result of stress accumulation and not feeling like you could back off of anything because of fallacies that live in your head or whatever. So everyone was just trying to help. And I think just inviting in a thought of taking time off. Like, do you think you need a break?
Yeah, I think in these moments, and this is not to get in too deep here, there are certain things in my life that I care a lot about. And I am very, very unwilling to give those up because they are I don't want to use the word escape, maybe coping mechanisms. They bring me fulfillment and grounding. And 2 of those things are working or academics historically and moving my body, working out, doing sports. So when someone tells me to take a break or do less, I struggle with that, especially when I'm in a very stressed out state because I feel like I need them to cope. And this is what I'm working on partially. But it's in that moment, I didn't necessarily think those were causing the problem. It was what we were seeing her for, which is our relationship is causing the unnecessary amount of stress that I actually can't handle. But I think her idea was if you can take a load off of yourself with things that are more controllable, like sports or working out or work in this case, then you'll be able to make more space and get into the window of tolerance to handle these relationship struggles.
Which I think is good advice.
And yeah, it was. But in the moment, I didn't think that was, it felt like taking away what was mine. Mm-hmm. And allowing the relationship or the struggles, our pattern, to take more away. And so that was where the reaction came from.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that now?
Well, I think post half Ironman, I took some break from working out. I didn't stop working out, but I really dialed back the volume. So I was training like 1 hour a day for 4 weeks. And that was helpful to have a little more space in my day, even just to sit down. And then with work, I guess stayed the same, but because we are having a stint at home now for 10 weeks before we travel again, it's allowed us to get into more of a rhythm with work and not feel like we're catching up and trying to get ahead, basically what we did all summer. So in a sense, I did get a bit of a break from work by being able to set into a pattern.
Yeah.
And it has been helpful. I mean, there's so many factors. We're also just doing better with therapy, and I'm learning a lot about myself and reading.
Right.
So I would say that it's probably a combination of things.
Yeah.
I still don't like being told to take a break.
Yeah. It's the meaning that you assign to it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And understandable with the history of it. And you're kind of a stubborn person, turns out. Okay. Number 2 in the number 2 slot. Which one did we decide on here?
I think it was about the past.
Yeah. Asking our therapist in the middle of a session if we could just, quote, not talk about the past, end quote. And like that was like a legitimate request. And she was like, no, I don't think that's going to work. She thought about it for a second. I don't know that she was necessarily considering it. I think she was more like
pretending. She was humoring me.
How do I tell her no? Yeah. Understandable request.
Quick background. Things have been going so much better. And we've had a really good week. I've had a really good week. Things are just much easier. It seems like the therapy is starting to sink in and work for me. And as a result, things are a lot easier with us. And I think, you're feeling better. So we enter into the session and the idea was, things are going well. Let's build on that. Let's talk about what more we want, how we want it to be, what we want more of here, what's feeling good. And I'm thinking, this is great. I mean, I have been pummeled once a week for an hour for the last 8 weeks. And by pummeled, I mean just getting slapped back to reality a little bit, which I'm taking in stride for the most part. But then we start talking about all these behaviors and things that have happened in the past. And
it wasn't
I'm thinking,
even like all these things. It was
I know,
one
okay,
reference.
but I'm thinking like, why are we beating a dead horse when I've already admitted that wasn't great and that I'm working on it? And I just had a really good week where I proved that I can do it and that I can be different and change. And not like I'm willing myself to be different. It's just as a result of feeling better and more secure and less triggered. Mm-hmm. So that's when I said, I don't think it's necessary to talk about the past.
Yeah.
Because things are good right now, so let's just talk about right now. If that would be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought our response was good to that, which is like, I hear you. I understand that request. There are 2 people in this session, though, and that past and history is still very relevant to, well, both of you, but Meredith. And for me, it's like,
She just likes you more than me.
it does sometimes feel that way.
Thank you so much for validating that.
I mean, it does. Like,
It's definitely 2 against 1.
first couple, no, we're triangulating. The first couple, well, not even first couple, yeah. She would check in, like, how's this feeling? And I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, like, I feel validated. I don't know. I feel good about it. But it was the same time you were really struggling. And I think that's a really common thing in relationship therapy.
Apparently so.
But I'm like, I don't, I also feel bad that my like vindication here is the literal opposite of whatever Alex is feeling. So I show up with a helmet. No, but what was her response? Yeah, that was her response, which I think is good.
I didn't like that remark.
What?
Like you need a helmet.
Oh, no.
I need a helmet.
You need I think, bubble wrap.
But thankfully, I have my own therapist. If you're ever going to enter into relational therapy, highly recommend having your own therapist so that you can go to them and say, the other therapist was really mean to me. And your therapist is like, "Oh, I'm really sorry that happened. Let's talk."
Yeah, it is hard though when you're in relationship therapist and or therapy, and it becomes very clear that neither one of you are the client. It is the relationship, and so you don't get the same level of sort of like there, patting on the back. But yeah, okay. In the number 1 spot, and it is probably one of the most hilarious things I've witnessed as an adult, is also, I mean, same session as the can we not talk about the past? And she said no, and we kept going. And I think honestly, I was surprised that you didn't get up and leave.
I almost left.
At one point.
The only reason I stayed was because I had promised myself that as hard as things are going to be, realizing this after basically the first session, I am going to take it. I'm going to be there for the hard conversations. Yeah. And not take it as in just take the beating. Work. And listen to the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And hear it.
Yeah.
So my butt stayed on the couch.
Yeah. One of whatever came after that. She was checking in like, well, how does that make you feel? And so I was answering, and then she asked you like, how does it make you feel to hear that? And you kind of like started to answer, and then it seemed just like you were getting really tired in the middle of the answer, and it ended with, it sort of was getting a little bit negative, and then you kind of you just sort of leaned back and you're like, whatever. I'm like, you just said whatever to our therapist. Whatever. And then like over the couch was eating you. You were just like, you were in the crack. Cause we like sit in this like comfortable room, and you were just getting like more and more in the couch and further away. So I'm like, I'm becoming aware that I am now in the foreground and Alex is kind of in the background, and becoming more in the background with like every minute that passed. You're sinking and getting eaten.
Yeah, because I was sitting at least at this point, like 6 to 10 inches farther behind you. I looked very small on screen because it's virtual.
I was kind of waiting on her to be like, Alex, I need you to sit up. But I think you probably would have left at that point. She's nice about it. She'll say things like, I'm sensing some body language. I'm like, no shit. You are? She's trying to be in the couch. But top 3, yeah. I'm handling things just fine. Number 3, can we not? And number 2, can we not talk about the past? Number 1, whatever. Delivered just like that. So, absolutely crushing it. No one could ever fault you for not being honest.
I do start a lot of my sentences with, well, I'm just going to be honest.
Yep. So it's going great.
I want to say I'm being a good sport, but I think I'm just committed to the process, and it's hard. And I think certain tendencies have created some situations for us. And I think a lot of that, just in the spirit of vulnerability, stems from like my insecurity as like an insecure attached person. And with that, and when things start like going south, then the insecurity gets bigger, and then you start analyzing, and then it's just like it's a very bad, I want to say spiral, but it's circular that circles down
towards a toilet drain.
Yeah. So then you start getting called out on some of these behaviors while you're also in individual therapy working on understanding your patterns and trying to become more secure. It does help. You need both, or at least I'm benefiting from both. So that's good.
And you can imagine if your expectations at the beginning of that were that you were going to be told that you were right all along, and Meredith just needs to communicate better and learn how to regulate herself when in fights. Yeah, that would be a hard pivot.
But you're finding some things challenging too, right?
Totally. It's super hard. Yeah. I mean, in my defense, it's, I have been doing individual therapy for a little bit longer, like this recent sort of, so I started working on some stuff with like EMDR and that kind of thing back in July. And I think that there's definitely some coinciding. So I'm feeling calmer generally. Yeah. I mean, therapy's always hard. Very like, you feel very seen regardless. You have to air it out. And for me, it's not like, sometimes just like talking about how I feel is hard. So yeah, it's hard.
Well, hopefully I didn't scare anyone off giving it a go.
We're all still here. Look, every time we get on that session and Laura shows up, I'm like, oh, she's here. She's back. Yeah. Wall of Fame.
I did at one point, starting a session, say, I've had to resist the urge to email you to apologize for the last session. And she said, never feel the need to do that. I can handle it. So I took her word for it.
Yeah.
That's a hard job.
I can't imagine.
Oh man.
I mean, the woman that I see who's amazing, very different type of practitioner than Laura. She only sees people once a week on Fridays. That's like her only, and I'm like, I get that. But
your therapist would never allow what happens in our other therapy sessions in her therapy, I don't think. It's so much more controlled.
It's like, it's quite meditative. Which is like, I like that. I like her for that. That's why I see her.
I need someone tougher, clearly.
But you're the type, you think things need to hurt to be effective.
And they certainly are.
Yeah, this is
so I'm hopeful.
This is the St. Ives apricot scrub of therapeutic work. Like you just like
it is. You do
scrubbing the.
It's gonna hurt
off.
for a bit, but then those wounds heal in a better way.
Did you ever use apricot scrub? Did you ever use like astringent like Sea Breeze?
No.
It's like I don't actually know what that stuff is. It's sort of like witch hazel, but it's like a liquid. It would often be blue. It kind of looks like nail polish remover. It might be acetone, but I don't know who thought this up but you would do like apricot scrub and then you would use this astringent, this like Sea Breeze, and it would sting because you've just apricot scrubbed your like epidermis off, you know?
Oh my gosh.
And like that was, you're like, yes, it's working.
I know. I used to use these cleansing pads that burned.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's exactly, I bet you it's the same kind of product.
And it felt like I was doing good.
Yeah. And then maybe it was Neutrogena. Someone came out with the grapefruits, like the pink grapefruit scrub.
We all had that.
Which was like kind of those two things combined. It's like, no wonder you guys have oily skin. I don't wash my face with soap anymore. This is the thing.
I know.
For us.
That's amazing.
But I think
it was only recently that you got product for your face.
Oh, like lotion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
And vitamin C.
Vitamin C and some like face specific lotion, but I don't do cleaner on my face.
Good for you.
I think face wash, I think that whole thing is like, I just think it's a scam. I don't think soap's a scam. I think some soap is a good idea. But I'm like, if you're putting, I don't know. I like, my skin has never been better from a health standpoint. It got better when I stopped using so much soap on my face.
Well, we're never going to get sponsored by Neutrogena.
That's okay.
Okay, quickly back to, well, I guess it's still on topic, but that feeling of like wanting something to be hard or kind of hurt is a little bit valid in therapy. And I read in a book that there's something called a breakdown that happens. And it's when psychological growth exposes distressing truths about what we have been doing.
Yeah.
Which is what happened. You realize like, oh, I'm the problem. Or even we're the problem in some cases with us. And so then you think, I'm breaking down. But really, according to this one passage, which I'm holding close to my heart, it's the struggle to deny the emotional truth that's breaking down. Like you've been fighting for so long that's what's breaking down. It's like you're almost conceding.
When you say like fighting, what do you mean? Like within yourself?
Probably.
Yeah.
And maybe even, and which can come out as actual arguing with the person in your life as a result of being insecure is a little bit of a fight within yourself. Not even knowing like who you are, not having a good concept of self, your self-esteem from whatever, previous relationships, your history. So when you realize that and you're like, wait, I don't need to fight anymore. Or just because this happened to me in the past or someone treated me this way doesn't mean it's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I can stop fighting. And that's when some of that like distress can fall away. But at first, it's really hard. And that's definitely what I felt. I feel like if I had to name it, that's what I experienced.
Like that level of distress.
Yeah.
Just because like you feel both exposed, but also maybe like you don't have your usual protective mechanisms.
100%. And you're realizing that your protective mechanisms, those things that are comforting and safe for you and are very almost unconscious, are causing harm for you and for the people in your lives.
Yeah.
So you almost have to recalibrate your brain.
I don't think you almost have to recalibrate your brain. I think that like is part of the process. There's got to be some sort of like neuroplasticity that's going on.
Oh, for sure.
But I think there's that in between though, where there's awareness that happens. You can start to see yourself and your history, your patterns, whatever, with a lot of clarity, but you don't have the toolbox developed to move through those situations in a different way. And so it just all becomes really painful for a while.
Yeah. Even, I think I kind of remember when someone tells you, when you know something isn't quite right and you're struggling in life for whatever reason, maybe for you, I do remember there was a period of time, I might be projecting and making it up in my head to make myself feel better. But when you kind of realized you had ADHD, you almost were diagnosed, it almost gets worse. Because even though there's some relief of understanding and being able to almost label it, there's also this increased awareness over some of the things that aren't as productive or how ADHD has been impacting your life in a negative way.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue with diagnoses of all kinds, is you start to understand through clinical language and descriptions the things that you do and the way that you think and the way that you can be. And so it's almost like if you buy a car, you start seeing that car everywhere. And so you see it more often because you're looking for it. And the thing that I'm kind of toying with right now and playing with is reconsidering a lot of that history. And that's not to say I definitely have ADHD, but reconsidering the way that came up and what pushed me to get help with it and the way that I experienced it through this lens of there was a lot more going on with us than I think I was originally, like I could possibly respect at that time. And so it's never one thing. And I'm like tremendously grateful for the diagnosis, the therapy that came after that, getting an understanding of treatment, having access to medication that I didn't have access to. Like I am so grateful for those things. But I'm also open to the possibility that the severity and the extent of my symptoms could have been amplified by some of the stress that I was under on account of these patterns that we find ourselves in. Mm-hmm. Because that's often when adults get diagnosed with ADHD, especially women, is during or after some sort of a breakdown, like high stress times, having children, career stuff, where normal masking and self-management tactics just fall short. And I think that's kind of what was going on at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, like with all of that said, I do think that even now, there's a little less judgment, but there was for sure a period of time where things got a little worse before they got better. And part of that, I'm like, such a hilarious irony to put someone with ADHD in charge of pursuing their own treatment, you know? It's like, these are all of your options. Go forth. Pick one. You're like, okay, yeah, I'll do that in 6 months, maybe. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that all makes sense. It's like a extinction burst behavior, which is a type of therapy as well, more commonly used in kids. But it's that thing, like if someone has a reaction and a way of doing or acting or behaving that gets them a specific thing, if they stop getting that thing, often that behavior gets a little worse before they kind of realize it's futile and then give up. And same thing with like animals. Really common with kids.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard when coping mechanisms are not available, tools aren't available, or they are available and you're not getting what you want. Like I think that's something that we have been in, is like I've been on my journey of individual therapy, and a lot of it is sort of learning how to identify when you're feeling a feeling, which sounds like the most elementary thing ever. Like, oh, I'm feeling a feeling. What is that feeling? You know, why am I feeling that? And you can call it, I'm feeling triggered if it's a negative behavior, but really it's all the same. Something triggers a feeling. And being with that and experiencing it without, number one, making it someone else's responsibility, or getting so wrapped up in another person's energy that it amplifies or it puts their feelings into you. And so it's been hard when the person that you're in a relationship with and you love is having a negative experience or, a reaction where you might typically step in and try to like make them feel better or solve it or just, do something to make them happy, whatever. And my role in that for myself has been to be there and be supportive, but don't step into it with you.
Yeah. It's the difference between attunement. So if someone were to say, I'm really sad, and then your friend or partner, whoever's there, can sit with you and say, okay, she's sad. I can hear you. I can be here. But you're not like laughing.
Right.
That would be not attuned. Whereas enmeshment is now you feel so sad. Like it's almost like empathy on crack. Like now you are feeling what that person feels. And sometimes I do that with you. You'll be crying or upset and I start crying. Mm-hmm. And I don't think for a long time, and this is part of why I'm realizing I'm not the problem. I don't like that phrase, but for simplicity, the way that I ever described feelings in our relationship, because I thought I was sharing a feeling, but it was, and this is, I'm just going to admit it, the way that I would express my feelings and probably have been is not only with a very, very aggressive tone, but I'm feeling like you did this to me.
Yeah.
Which is so, I've watched enough Instagram now that it's not what you do, but it seems to be a very popular way of expressing feelings because there is a lot of dialogue around it right now as therapy becomes bigger in space.
Yeah. And I think one of the breakthroughs that we had was we were kind of in the midst of an argument, and I said, like, what are you feeling? Like, can we stop just for a second and focus. Can we just do feelings? Like, let's slow down. And if I need to get a feeling wheel, I can. I said, what are you feeling? And the couple that you came up with were all oriented around me, like disappointed, or it wasn't that one, dismissed. Because I think disappointed is a feeling, but like dismissed, something, 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 something. But I was in the middle of all of those. They were all feelings that came from me doing something. And I kind of said, like, those aren't feelings. They're not the ones that you would identify on a emotion chart.
Yeah.
And you were like, your brain broke.
I know, it did.
At first you got mad. You were like, well, what are feelings? And I was like,
I had to open my phone and look up.
Yeah.
What are examples of feelings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was an early breakthrough. That was like in the summertime.
It was one of our first sessions we were given a tool. And this therapy isn't necessarily about tools, but there was one tool that we received, and it's called the feedback.
Because I think
wheel.
when you're early, often people show up in therapy when like shit is sideways, and ours definitely was. And so it's like, okay, like we're going to be here next week, but there's like a whole last 7 days in between now and next week. So can you give us something to help us through that? And she gave us this tool.
Okay, so this tool, basically, the way, if something is upsetting for you, something has happened. So Meredith says something or does something, or I do something. And the first step is to say to this person, if you want to bring it up, you say, hey, I would love to have a conversation with you about something. Is now a good time? And if not, when would it work? So you're asking for consent, which again, never done that one before. Then, once you're sitting with the person, you describe what happened. So, trying to stick to the facts. You said these words while we were out mountain biking. That's all you say. And then the other person can say, yeah, I did, or whatever. Then you say, and this is the kicker, the story that I'm telling myself about this is, and that was a big breakthrough for me, even in the first session, because it allowed me to decipher between what happened and that is different than the story that I'm telling myself in my head, how I perceived it, what it meant to me, what other things that you've done might be tangled up in it. So the story that I'm telling myself in my head is that you don't care about me. And that's what I'm telling myself. It's not what you think or feel or what was behind what you said, but it gives you an opportunity then. It almost helps the speaker, at least for me it did. And then you say, so what I need from you is, and you can request a need, is reassurance that you do care, or an explanation as to like why you said that or something. And the person can then meet that need or say, I can't meet that need, but like I'm willing to work it out in some other way or whatever. And that was pretty helpful. And for me, the being able to decipher between the facts and what was going on inside me was huge. Because I think that was a lot of the crux is, well, she did this, it made me feel this, so she's on the hook for making me feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, no, you're responsible for that. And you're responsible for asking for something that's within reason to allow that person to meet your need and not just attack them and then expect them to make you feel better, which is what I was doing.
Yeah, that was generally the how
I hope that people don't think negatively of me right now and are thinking, hey, I do that. This is really helpful. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah. I do think it's probably really common, but there was always kind of a disconnect where I was like, what do you want me to do right now? Because like I certainly can't show up in the way that you want me to show up right now. And also you're not leaving me a lot of options besides defensiveness, because it's also okay to defend what is defensible. Yeah. I
also missed a step.
Oh, did you?
Ironically, the step is to say, the story that I'm telling myself is ... It made me feel.
Oh yeah, you said this feeling step. Yeah, of course you did.
And that's where I start to go sideways. Yeah. So I've learned if I'm going to use that tool, I have to have the script, because I'm really good at saying, you did this, the story I'm telling myself is this, and then I get stumped.
Yeah, that's how it started to become that. And we stopped using that tool for that reason, because became a lot of like, I just want to share this with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we're feeling, and it was just crickets. It was like,
I'm
feelings.
feeling like you hurt me.
Yeah, exactly.
My brain,
I know.
it's crazy.
But you can,
The only feeling, everything is always expressed in anger for me, and anxiety, worry, and anger.
yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. And I think that so I was watching this YouTube a while ago, and it was, it just popped up in my feed, and it was something about like, I'm a sociopath. And it was this blonde woman. It was like a Business Insider video or a Harvard Review or something. And it just like, I don't know, caught my attention. So I started watching it, and it was just like talking head with some B-roll. And this woman's telling her story of, she's basically diagnosed with sociopathy, and she grew up with it. And so she's explaining her childhood and kind of when she became aware that the way that she felt or didn't feel feelings was different than other kids, and how it felt to be her with this just kind of like internal pressure, and she had to release it. And she like stabbed her best friend with a pencil, but she was like, it wasn't even about stabbing her with a pencil. I just needed to do something, and I had no idea what to do. And then she got a little bit older and started like breaking into people's houses, but she would always make sure that they were gone, and she wouldn't do anything. She would just like sit in the house and always like lock up and leave, and they have no idea. But that was how she dealt with that internal pressure. She also went through a phase where she stole some cars. She's like, the logistics with stealing cars is just impossible, because you have to like park them back in the same place. And like, what if the people come back early? It's just like not a good situation. And then one time she and her husband were at like an event in the White House, and like a speech or something. And she also holds her bladder. And this is something that she does to like deal with the pressure. But she like doesn't go pee when she has to pee. And so she's like holding it. So they like are in this thing, and she's like aware that she's doing it. And they close the doors because the keynote speaker is going to give the talk. She pees her pants in the White House. And her husband's like, did you just pee your pants? And I guess he knows that she does this. And so he like gave her his jacket or whatever. And they ended up leaving early. So the whole point, she ends up becoming a psychiatrist. And she's like, that was totally selfish. I just wanted to learn more about myself. Used to hate the clinical work. And then I realized I was really good at the clinical work because I didn't care about my patients. Mm-hmm. I didn't get attached to them. Like, you could come in and be, the worst person in the world. I didn't care, but I could like do my job, and I could listen and do effective work. And so then she is talking about how that also makes her a unique parent. So she has kids. I was like, oh, fascinating. And she's like, what I've learned and what I've observed through my life, both working with people clinically and now having my own children, is that children often experience emotions through their parents. And the way that they feel emotions is the way that their parents feel when they make their parents feel some kind of way. And you can probably, anyone who ever got a bad grade on a report card probably knows that feeling, right? Like, you get your report cards, you have a bad grade, or you don't do well on a test, and you have to like come home and have your parents sign it or whatever you used to have to do. There's probably some feeling that the kid has with that, but the primary thing that they're feeling is like fear of whatever, mm-hmm. of that they're going to disappoint their parent, because you bring home your test or your report card, you give it to your mom, and all of a sudden you're grounded, or you get scolded, or she's really mad. And so that's how kids learn how to experience feelings. And she's like, but for me, and I see my husband do this, but for me, if my child gets a bad grade, they're going to bring that home to me. I'm going to feel nothing. And she's like, and I'm not just saying that, I don't feel anything. So I am in a unique position to then ask my child, what are you feeling about this? And so like, her children are developing their own sense of emotions through their own lenses, because they don't have to worry about what they're making their mom feel, because their mom doesn't feel anything because she has sociopathy. And
that's the definition of sociopathy.
Yeah. Well, it's different than, it's not an incapability to be empathetic and feel feelings. Like, people who are sociopaths or have sociopathy, they can feel empathy, but it takes a lot of work internally. Like, they have to like really work towards emotional connection with other people. It doesn't come naturally. And the thing about it is, I guess it used to be, it's diagnosed with this specific questionnaire set, like criteria that was only given to people who committed crimes. And so for a lot of history, it was thought that sociopaths were always criminals, but really there's just like an undiagnosed portion of the population because you'd never get administered the test if you didn't commit a crime. Go ahead.
It says in Google, sociopath is an informal, outdated term for someone with antisocial personality disorder, characterized by a disregard for others' rights and feelings, manipulation, deceit, and a lack of empathy or remorse. Mm-hmm. So I guess a disregard for others' feelings / like maybe a lack of ability to feel themselves.
Well, I think it's like not an evolved sense of empathy. Like it's the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath is like a psychopath straight up does not have any, can't get there, will never make the connection.
And there's probably with everything an element of levels, degrees.
Sure. Yeah. I just thought it was fascinating because that was a really long-winded way to say it's understandable how anyone as an adult could get into adulthood and not have like a super well-developed sense of themselves or even like the things that they feel, and can become very preoccupied with the feelings of other people in their lives. Mm-hmm. And not even as a way of like managing what those feelings are, but just a preoccupation because that's how we're taught to consider other people. And to be a considerate person is to put others before yourself. I mean, how many ways is that said when you're growing up? When like the cost of that, if you're not careful, really careful, is that your child never learns anything about themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't learn their own feelings because they just take care of other people by default because that's what it means to be a kind person.
Yeah, makes sense. It's like, and this has happened to me, if someone's in a bad mood, I have to know if they're in a bad mood. I have to say, are you grumpy? Are you in a bad mood? Did you not sleep well? Not because I care about the person, even though I might. I need to know, and this is according to my therapist, what field we're playing on. So how to behave. Oh, are we grumpy today? But now apparently, so I hear, it's okay for someone to be grumpy and for you to be fine.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
Yeah, I called you on that one last week sometime.
Yeah.
Because
Well, you said that I didn't care about you, which I do, but not in the way that is, again, these words are probably not the greatest, but not in a way that's productive. Yeah.
And I didn't say that at the time. I just said, hey, by the way, like you asked this earlier and like, because I know what you're working on. Anyways, what that felt like to me was that you didn't necessarily care about how I was feeling, but you did care about how you should feel about how I might be feeling.
Which in my defense is because I care about how you're feeling.
Right.
In addition to these other things.
Yeah.
But
True.
Instead I would say, how are you feeling? Or I'm noticing this. Can I check in?
Yeah.
And if you're feeling grumpy, I can maybe just be attuned to that, but I don't have to become grumpy myself.
Or not even grumpy. It's such a reduction.
Or
like
scared.
A reduced word. Yeah. Someone can have not slept well and not be grumpy about it. You know what I mean?
But you were.
I wasn't grumpy.
Yeah,
I had been awake for approximately 20 seconds.
You were grumpy.
I was not grumpy.
We can agree to disagree.
You were just in my face too quickly.
Right, fair. I caused the grumpiness by seeing if you were grumpy.
It does become, you can manifest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This has become the topic today.
Yeah, we'll save the other topic for next time, which is a great topic. So stay tuned. Mm-hmm. Very different from this topic.
Mm-hmm. What else? What else is coming up?
I don't know. I think it's amazing to me how you seek guidance and support and help for something, thinking it's going to be a certain way, and your whole world is not, it's turned upside down, but it's also opened up. And I think that's just really awesome that there are And I think it shows that it's so important to keep an open mind. And yeah, this has just become so much more than I thought it was going to become.
I remember early, like one of the early sessions we had, it may have been that one where we were like mid-fight. Could have been the end of that one. Could have been the one before. But anyways, you were kind of saying like, I, don't always plan my day or whatever. It had something to do with my inability to plan or like stick to a plan or something like that. And she kind of said like, maybe she just can't. And said, I am kind of like that. If someone were to ask me my plan for the day, I could give it to them. But what I would end up doing would be totally different than that. Because that's just like not the way that everybody moves through their day. And I remember and there was a conversation that ensued after that. But after that session, you said something like, I just feel like there's a whole different way of living than I was aware of.
Yeah. I also have had the tendency to assume that everyone's brains are like mine. So if somebody does something and I think to myself, I would never do that unless I blatantly wanted to disregard their feelings. So then I assume that that's why someone did that to me. When really, like, you're not like that. You're just a completely different person than me. And you would eat all of the cookies without even, you're not eating all the cookies so I can't have them. Even though I would never eat all the cookies because I would want to save some for you. But it doesn't mean that because you ate all the cookies, you don't care about me. Your brain is super different, or you're totally focused on other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that opens up. And I think one of the benefits of therapy for both of us is to gain understanding of each other and have somebody who's objective say to me, well, maybe Meredith can't. Or maybe Meredith was just really confused. Or maybe she just didn't know what to do. And the same goes for you, I think. Alex, because of this, does this. And that understanding helps take the edge off of a lot. It's easier because you've learned these things through having somebody mediate to a degree. Next time you find yourself in a situation, you have that little birdie in your head or on your shoulder saying, hey, she's just different than you. This doesn't mean this, even though maybe in the past you've thought that. But just someone saying, she doesn't know that 2 + 2 is 4.
I mean, of course I would know that. I
Well,
also know that 2
but you know
squared
what I
is 4.
mean? It seems, I really shouldn't use math as an example. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. She doesn't know that this might mean this to you.
Even the way that I've been, as damaging as it can be in a way, sometimes now when I start going down that path, because you have a better understanding of me through our work, you can identify it in some cases better than I can and say, hey, Alex, like, this is where you're headed. Or you don't even need to say that. You can say, let's back up. What are you feeling? What do you need?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I have had an inclination about you for a long time. What I needed was not to understand it. I needed you to understand it a little bit.
Yeah. Fair.
And I think that I don't like you. I can't be the person that tells you, like, how's that going to go? It has
worse
to be
than it's gone with the therapist. I'll tell you that much.
So it's helpful. Mm-hmm. And certainly like I'm learning a lot and we're learning a lot through this, and I don't know everything, but having you come around to it. I mean, you've said things to me in the last month or two that are coming out of your mouth like it's a revelation. And I'm like,
Like what?
I mean, I don't want to air it all out, but
basically I live my life waiting for the shoe to drop. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the best way to explain it. I'm waiting to, and this sounds so extreme and ridiculous, like lose all my money, lose my job. I mean, I didn't trust tactic having success for many years. My main thing with us and what's causing the problem with us is that I am worried that you're going to leave or that we're going to be done. And so because of that, I analyze so much. And that is not good. There's like a distrust almost, even though you've never done anything to make me feel like I should distrust you. Mm-hmm. But it comes from the past. It comes from who I've been and my other relationships. And is that the revelation?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, even after like a couple weeks ago when you took, quote unquote, took some time, took a break from our heated discussion or argument that was approximately 4.5 minutes long, and then came by and came back and proceeded to tell me why you felt the way that you felt and where that came from, as if I didn't already know that. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is going to help her if she understands. I'm like, nah, I know. I know that. I've known that for a while.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think it definitely helps. And the thing that, like, to understand, and the thing that I always kind of land on is it's actually something that my ADHD therapist told me, which is, like, diagnoses are great, self-awareness is great, but that's not where it ends. Because this isn't, like, ADHD is not an excuse. Becoming aware of the reasons why you struggle with things doesn't abdicate you from responsibility in the way that you show up for people and in their lives and the impact that you have. So the work continues, and it has to continue beyond that, because anything that is just building self-awareness is self-indulgent. I mean, if you just want to be single forever, that's fine. Like, you can have that kind of self-indulgent self-awareness, like, I am this way because, so you have to deal with it. And if you don't, then I guess you just don't love me. That's not fair to anyone. It's not even fair to you, but people who are like that tend to see it that way. So yeah, any understanding helps, both for the self and then also in relationships. I think it creates a softness and a forgiveness that's necessary to be in a relationship. Because I think to be in a relationship is to constantly forgive yourself and to forgive the other person to a point. I mean, you can't forgive everything, but I think day to day, it has to be there. And it almost just has to be assumed. Like, you have to assume that I am forgiving you, and I have to assume that you are forgiving me. Because if not, you're just going to, the work becomes like, please forgive me.
Which is, I think, kind of what it was for us.
Yeah.
I've been to therapy before. We've talked a little bit about it. But I don't necessarily think I was in a place, even if, and it was different therapy than before. From this is different therapy. But before, I don't necessarily think there was like a motivation or even openness or curiosity to go down the path that I'm going down now, to really discover how I've been living my life, I guess, is the easiest way to put it. And really, it's not that bad. I'm fine. But that's what's interesting about it, is like, you can be fine. We weren't fine, but we were still together and we had really good days and we love each other, but that's not great. It wasn't great. And we struggled, and there was a lot of added stress. And I think it's the same with work, and it can be the same with athletics. You know, you can have a lot of success in athletics and be, hitting PRs, but if you're miserable doing it, you have to dig deeper. And that doesn't mean someone's necessarily going to change their workouts or their endeavors, but even just addressing the motivation behind how you are and why you are the way you are in your behavior can be super helpful. Even if on the surface you're fine. Mm-hmm. And you're getting by, and it's nothing actually bad has happened yet. But I think that's probably why a lot of people combust, or why a lot of people end up failing, their relationships fail, because they think it's okay. They think they can get by. They think trying harder will work. And they haven't really invested and committed to doing that really hard work. And I'm so just speaking from my own experience. So I'm not saying that everyone needs it or everyone is going to have the same experience as me. But it's quite amazing that there can be this much uncovered and this much change even after only 2 or 2.5 months for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that people get into their 40s and 50s and have that, like, you know, stereotypical midlife crisis, because you wake up one day and you're 46 and you realize, like, I have no idea who I am.
Mm-hmm. Why do I do this? Do I do it because I actually like it, or do I do it because I feel like I should?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know, as an example, like my parents wanted me to. So 25 years later, I'm still sitting at this desk.
Right.
And that I'm obviously not talking about myself, but you just taking a minute to even think about it is scary, but it can open up a lot.
Yeah.
And having someone help you with it definitely helps.
Mm-hmm.
Having someone sit there and say, this is totally normal, is helpful. When you feel like you're breaking down or therapy is making something worse, and having someone say, like, no, it's fine, keep going, super helpful. And that's true in most cases, I think.
Yeah, it gets better. But I guess, like, the thing that I feel grateful for a lot of things, but certainly that there's more knowledge and that therapeutic work is normalized for our generation.
Yeah.
Because it just used to be like you didn't go to therapy. Or if you did go to therapy, it was to fix a specific problem. And you definitely didn't tell anyone that you were going to therapy. So I'm just happy for that, because I think there's a lot of self-discovery happening in our generation that hasn't been accessible to previous generations, which is kind of sad, but...
Yeah, and if you're someone who's not ready for therapy, which is totally understandable, there's so many resources out there. Mm-hmm. Reading books and listening to podcasts and stuff, that alone can open up a lot and start to help.
I will say, like, asterisk, I think it's helpful, but I think there's, without some help, sometimes understanding can be really painful.
It's similar to nutrition. There's so much out there now that you can almost become overwhelmed as to, like, what it is that your problem, or not problem, but where you need to focus.
Yeah, and it's good to have help processing. Like, you might get into it casually and then just learn something that just opens up some trauma or just isn't what you expected, and that can be really isolating. So yeah, I always I'm a huge advocate for therapy and having someone, or at least a support system as you go through that. So
yeah, so that's the update on us / me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was an hour talking about therapy.
I mean, we talk a lot about therapy, so it was like a regular conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, thank you for, I guess, listening to this. If you've gotten this far, I imagine there maybe were a handful of people who were curious after the September episode. So that's how it's going. It's been a busy fall, man.
It's been a great fall. Mm-hmm. In a way. Just feels productive, and like we're setting ourselves up for a really nice winter and summer.
And life. Yeah.
I think I resisted therapy for a bit because it is a commitment. It's a time commitment. It's a monetary commitment. But you think about how much you can gain by just being so much more at ease. And honestly, the time that we've gotten back, how did we even have time to get into it as often as we did?
You make time for what matters to you, Alex. That's how.
Yeah. But you get a lot of time back when you're not unhappy or arguing or in your thoughts and worrying constantly. It's amazing.
Days.
The whole world opens up to you.
Mm-hmm. The options are endless.
And for anyone out there who's struggling in their own way, like I don't talk about this to make other people feel a certain way. If anything, it's selfish because it feels good for me to share. But know that you're not alone. You're not. No matter what you're going through, you're not the only one. And sometimes the first thing to do is just to share it with someone safe, and that alone can start to help shed some of that shame that you might be feeling. And that's the first step. So hopefully you can do that, and hopefully this speaks to you in a way.
All right. Feel free to share this episode if you found it helpful. We appreciate the support as always, and we will catch you on the next episode.